Welcome in, along with Mike Renner. I'm Steve Palazzolo, and this is your Washington Redskins NFL Draft Recap, all powered by PFF Edge and Elite. Mike, one of the fascinating stories in the draft here. Prior to the draft, we heard all these rumors about the Redskins moving up to go get Dwayne Haskins, but they sit pat at 15 and they get their guy anyway. I think it was a great spot for Dwayne Haskins to go as far as value goes.
Yeah, it was an impressive sort of bluff call that no one else, they believe that no one else is going to take him, and stood there at 15. Didn't have to give up future draft capital or any draft capital to go and get him, which is huge with the Alex Smith contract situation. They're just, as a franchise, behind the eight ball until they can get that off the books and start actually, addressing other positions with that cap space. So to get Dwayne Haskins, who should be entering his prime, realistically, year 3, when that contract's finally off the books, and then they can sign some people. That's how I would have built this. That's how I would have done it ideally. And so to get him, a guy who we had the 10th overall player on our draft board, value couldn't be better. We
definitely had Kyler Murray in a different tier from Dwayne Haskins. Haskins, our number 2 quarterback. But when things are good for him, and I know this will sound like anybody's good, but he's very good when you give him a clean pocket, when he's throwing short, intermediate range, very accurate, NFL-type velocity and touch. So a lot of things that he does well. The struggles at Ohio State came under pressure, didn't show up that well in some key road games. So there's some question marks there. And I know people are going to take this the wrong way, but he reminds me of Sam Bradford in a lot of those ways. Accurate in the right places, a little
That's
iffy
not what you want to hear.
I know, but if Bradford had the right supporting cast, this is what I keep coming back to. If Bradford had these great receivers and a pretty good offensive line, I think he could have put together some nice years. I really think that's what Haskins is.
And 2 knees.
And 2 knees, yeah.
Haskins, the other question mark I have is throwing into tight windows, but I think he led a high-level offense, and I don't think that is non-trivial. Even if the grade wasn't necessarily elite, the fact that he facilitated a high-level offense that threw 50 touchdown passes,
sounds
whether
like
or not
Sam Bradford.
16, yeah, it does sound like Sam Bradford coming out of college, which he did lead a high-level offense at Oklahoma. I think he's a good facilitator to the talent around him. Worry about him throwing into tight windows a little bit, but only 1 year of starting. It's just harder to project those guys that you haven't seen a ton of, because we're all about sample size here, and 1 year is still a small sample size. You love the fact that he could get better as he goes on, still young. I think there's a lot of tools to work with, and to get that at 15, usually those guys tend to go a lot earlier in drafts.
That's the thing. It's a good value at 15, even though the Sam Bradford comp and some of the pocket presence issues that Bradford had as well. So they're not the exact same guy, but there are some similarities there. We'll talk about how they've tried to build around him, but they did trade back into the first round to get Montez Sweat with the number 26 overall pick. Sweat was a guy we did not buy into the top 10 hype. There was the heart rumor and all that stuff, but putting that aside, we had more of a second round grade on him, but I don't mind him at 26. Back end of the first, much better than, say, the top 10 hype that he was getting at one point.
Yeah, just worry about him and his pass rushing skill set. He just didn't ever really dominate in the SEC. There was no even one game where I was like, oh, wow, he really dominated from start to finish.
To be clear, forget the sack totals, right?
Yeah,
We're not just looking at sack totals here. I don't care that he had 24 over the last 2 years. We're talking snap for snap, never really dominated.
Yeah, never really dominated in that regard. And with athletically, on paper, looking better than a guy like Myles Garrett, who utterly dominated the SEC.
Right.
That's a little concerning, and he's also older. He's a senior coming out here in the draft. So we never bought into it. Little herky-jerky just on the field, which doesn't have this natural look of an edge defender that I'd like to see in the natural move set to win outside and win inside. So from those are issues, but you can't teach that athleticism. It is very high in athleticism, and it has translated a little bit. His bull rush will be good at the next level. That will be his bread and butter. So getting that at pick 26 to replace someone like Preston Smith, I think, is a win for them.
It's a pretty nice defensive front that they're building in Washington. And then we talked about the playmakers for Dwayne Haskins. They get his former teammate from Ohio State, Terry McLaurin, early third round, right about the value where we had him. Very good speed, excellent Senior Bowl. A little underused in the Ohio State offense, but might be highly used by Washington.
I'm surprised he lasted that long. I'm surprised some of these wide receivers last that long, but for my money, he was the best of the Ohio State receivers in this draft. Paris Campbell obviously went ahead of him, but McLaurin, just barely slower than him, 4.35 there at the combine. It showed up on tape and was just a much better route runner on the deep route tree than what we saw from Paris Campbell, already more accomplished. He went to the Senior Bowl down in Mobile and was torching the guys down there. He did it against good competition, in press coverage. May not be your complete wide receiver, but adds the deep element that they've been missing since Deshaun Jackson left.
Add a whole bunch of different style playmakers for Haskins to maximize his value. Let's get to day 3 real quick. Bryce Love from Stanford. if he's healthy, potential home run hit, even though they've got this loaded backfield in Washington.
Yeah, I've been saying if you get a healthy medical on that knee, which there was a report that it was tight knees, might not be all the way back. If you get a healthy medical on him, though, and you can tell me that I'm going to get the 2017 Bryce Love back, I'd be calling him the #1 running back in this class. He is that dynamic. He is that much of a home run hitter at the running back position that I think he would be worth taking as the #1 running back off this board in this class. But that ACL injury is obviously concerned. The fact that once he had the little ankle injury this past season, that it really completely hampered his game, completely neutered that home run ability. So you worry about an undersized guy like him getting hurt, but you still can't teach 4.3 speed, and Bryce Love has it.
One of the bigger names that landed in the 6th round was Kelvin Harmon from NC State. A lot of people asking, why did he drop? A lot of people had him as a 2nd or 3rd, even potential 1st-round type of player. He just never did anything special at NC State. Doesn't separate all that well. He's okay in contested situations. Solid receiver across the board, but I like him in the 6th. You know, possession guy in the 6th. I'm absolutely all for that.
Yeah, he's a nuanced route runner and good at the catch points. Not dynamic by any means, not going to add anything after the catch, but he is a solid possession receiver, which if you're getting that in the 6th round, a guy who actually has skills that can contribute, I think that's a win.
Wrap it up with your boy, Jimmy Moreland, 7th round pick from James Madison.
One of the day 3 steals. To get him in the 7th round is fantastic value. I get why he goes in the 7th round. He's 5'9", 179 pounds. That's not great translating to the NFL, but ball production is there. 18 picks in his career at James Madison, and he is physical as it gets for a 5'9", 179-pound cornerback. He plays more like he's 6'2", 210 pounds. He is right up in receivers' faces, wants to hit them. Reminds me of someone like Antoine Winfield in terms of he could play from the slot and impact both the run and the pass game with his physicality. Obviously not
stylistically.
Stylistically is what I'm saying. I'm not putting that on him, but I love him. We had him as a 3rd-round type of player.
Overall, really nice draft for the Redskins. The big key is going to be Dwayne Haskins and his development. The next step, got to get those playmakers around him, but a really nice draft for Washington. Be sure to get the full breakdown over at ProFootballFocus.com.